sister told our parents she caught me sleeping with her partner. She violated a restraining order and broke into my home, but my parents want me to bail her out. So this all started yesterday when I had a date planned with a guy. He did not show, so I texted the group chat about it. My sister is in this group chat. I'm guessing my sister, Sarah, told her best friend, Jay, about it because a few minutes later, Jay texted me to ask if I was okay. I said yes but was slightly disappointed since I was excited to try that restaurant. He said he would pick me up at noon the next day so we could eat there. I told him it wasn't necessary, but he insisted, so I agreed, thinking nothing of it. Well, today, he took me out as promised, and while we were eating, Sarah FaceTimed Jay. When he didn't answer, she called again and again. He answered the fourth call and asked her what was going on. She said she was checking on us and told me to call her later. Later, it ended up being almost 8 o'clock. Jay and I spent the rest of the day hunting down some collectible dolls we liked and trying different dessert spots along the way. On the way back to my apartment, Jay asked me to change the music on his phone. When I opened it, I saw that my sister had called him about 30 times throughout the day and texted him across multiple apps. Jay put his phone on Do Not Disturb after lunch, so it made sense that he didn't see those notifications. Once he dropped me off, I called my sister and asked her if everything was alright. She said yes and asked if I had forgotten to call her back sooner. I told her that I was out with Jay, so I didn't get the chance, and I figured it could wait since she didn't call me. She hung up, and a few minutes later, I got a call from my mom. She sounded angry and told me that I should be ashamed of myself. I said sure, but why today? According to my mom, Sarah called her in tears, saying that she had caught Jay and I having intimacy in their apartment. I was so fucking confused. I told my mom that I did not have intimacy with Jay and that I didn't even know they lived together. I asked her to give me a minute, and I called Jay, but he didn't answer. Now, I am lying on my floor, wondering what the hell is happening and putting off another conversation with my mom. Update. In my original post, when my mom told me that Sarah and Jay shared an apartment, I said, I didn't even know they lived together. Those were my verbatim words to her because, last I knew, Sarah had a roommate, and Jay lived alone. I was right. That's still the case. Jay found out about my date, or lack thereof, and according to him, he was hanging out with a few of his friends, including my sister, and she told him about it jokingly. Another thing is that some people ask why I went out with Jay if I knew my sister liked him. I didn't know. Just because I talk to my sister doesn't mean she talks to me the same way. If I had known, I would have talked to her about it first because I know from experience that my sister is jealous. Anyway, last night was a doozy. Jay called me back. He said he would stay at a friend's because he would feel safer with the company. I asked him if anything had ever been romantic between him and my sister. He said the only thing was that he kissed her at midnight at a New Year's party because she was feeling left out. I can't confirm if that is the only thing. He also said that he had never even talked about moving in with Sarah, so he doesn't know why she would say they were living together. After I spoke with Jay, I called my mom again. She still sounded pissed, but this time, I could hear my sister crying in the background and my dad yelling to get our asses over there. Ours presumably Jay and me. As I told my mother earlier, I didn't have Jay's butt, and I don't like to drive at night, so I told them I would go the next morning. That also gave me time to gather any evidence I could to prove my innocence. Jay even sent me a copy of his lease to prove that he and Sarah do not live together. I went to my parents alone because Jay had a job. As soon as I arrived, my parents started yelling at me. Just the usual stuff that I was disrespectful, but they never expected this from me. How dare you do this to your sister? You know she already has a hard time. Why make her life harder? My dad even called me a WH-re. I just sat there and did the math on how much faster I could finish my grad program and flee the country or the state. I wasn't very tuned in until my mom told me that if Sarah lost her job because of me, I would need to support her until she found another one financially. That's when I snapped and told them that if they thought I was going to do that, then they were as delusional as my sister. Missing one day of work because of a tantrum over something that didn't happen would not get her fired. My dad said Sarah had missed work to ensure Jay wasn't leaving work early to see me. I found out my sister also told them that Jay was missing a lot of work, so he wasn't taking enough home for their bills, so my parents had been sending her rent money for months. I told them it wasn't true and showed them the lease Jay sent, which clearly says the day the lease started and when it ended. It also had his address, which is not the same as Sarah's. My mom brought Sarah out of her room, where she had been, and told her to explain herself. Sarah said that he probably got that other apartment to be closer to me when he went on supposed business trips. First, Jay is a software developer. I don't know what business trips he would go on. Second, it's a nice way to find out that my sister doesn't even know where I live because Jay's apartment is almost an hour away from mine. I showed my parents that on Google Maps, and they finally started to believe me. Sarah started crying and calling me a liar. My dad told me that even if what I said was true, I shouldn't have been so hard on Sarah and that, as her sister, I should be helping her when she's having a rough time like this. I told him I wasn't a therapist, but if she ever decided to get help, I would pitch in. I left after that. There was nothing else I needed to say, and there was no point in waiting for an apology. My dad looked uncomfortable, and my mom was too busy consoling my sister to notice me leaving. I haven't talked to them since then. Update 2. Jay got a permanent restraining order against my sister. It took some months and a lot more harassment, but he does have that now. As for why my sister was lying to get money from our parents, I don't know where all the money was going, but I'm pretty sure that she lied because she didn't want them to be disappointed in her. A lot has happened, but to sum up, my sister was arrested for violating the restraining order and breaking into my home. My parents were furious with me after I didn't help bail her out. They blame me for getting arrested and fired from her 3 jobs. Since then, I have not had any contact with my mom or sister.